I don't know if I told you there was a band at school made up of some of my colleagues. And they called themselves the ex-Sharons. And every single member in that band had been out with one girl called Sharon, the same girl. And they did a gig, and I think half the audience as well were ex-Sharons. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. Yeah. My name's John. His name is Andy. Son, I'm 30. I only went with your mother because she's dirty. And I don't have a decent bone in me. What you get is just what you see. More of that later. Andy, what have you got in store for us today?
I have a band called the Beths. Have you heard of the Beths?
Oh, it's a perfectly fine and decent name for a band. I have certain imagery of indie leanings springing in my mind from that. I don't know if I told you there was a band at school made up of some of my colleagues. And they called themselves the ex-Sharons. And every single member in that band had been out with one girl called Sharon, the same girl. And they did a gig, and I think half the audience as well were ex-Sharons.
Oh, Sharon. She's taken
Yeah,
that name a bit literally, as she shares herself with many. I don't know if I can say anything about that the same that would relate to the Beths, but their track that I want you
not
to
sure.
peep out is called Take. So, the Beths, Take. You've got everything you need. Take that, go off and listen to it, and come back and let us know what you've made of it.
Pulled out of Eden into the cold night. I heard you breathing.
Okay, this is a lovely start. You got that classic sort of indie pop sound, two guitars, but sort of one's picking and one's strumming. Sounds really nice, bright tone to it. Very sort of 1986 for me. Um, and then in comes this sort of this bass that sounds more like an outboard motor. And it gives a sort of driving sense to it and urgency. And then the vocals over the top. Yeah, this classic sort of breathy female voice that for me always sounds both, it has inner strength but also sounds fragile as well at the same time. It usually is very much self-deprecating. um these sort of songs with his voices usually point out the faults within themselves rather than the person, the object of the song usually. But it sounds all great as a package. Really like it so far.
Heavenly treason, bitter erasure, then annihilation, elation. Stolen off the engine at your heart. Do it to keep the heart returning. Burn the fuel to light the spark. Take until the palliative is gone.
This is really nice stuff. Okay. It's really nice up to that point, where they sort of then the song changes. And you get, I think they're repeating the word take, and there's this clanking sound. It's like someone malleting in a metal tent peg and hitting rocks. That's what I thought. And then there's a really nice bit where you get the furious sort of drumming and this lovely feedback coming through. And I've said this before and other stuff, I really like it when the feedback sort of bleeds through and goes into the next bit or carries it like a line. And it did just that, and I sort of even extended it a beat or so. So it was all teetering on the edge and then kicks back in again. Really nicely done. Hopefully gone back far enough. It's
Tell me a secret so I can erase it. Oh, I need to keep it,
drums
keep
on
it.
guitar.
Stolen at the engine at your heart. Do it to keep the habit turning. Burn the fuel to light the spark. Take until the collective is gone. Take it to fill yourself with confidence. To speed into the fog. Floating at the fire of your fear. Did you forget about the person that you were with you? Take until the photograph is gone. Take it to overwhelm the echoes, bouncing on and on and on, and on and on and on.
Awesome. Really enjoyed that. And as I say, halfway through, that really elevated the song for me from what I would always like anyway, but to something just a next level up. Yeah, really interested to hear more about this band. It's very interesting. Yeah, let's get back and chop it up with Andy.
All right. So you are back, John. What did you make of Take by the Beths?
So it starts with the sound of a classic indie guitar, slightly jangly, slightly twee. Enter in then a bass that sounds a bit like an outboard motor, along with fairly stringent drum beat, and this song starts to hoof along. And that contrasts nicely then with the incoming breathy vocals of our resident chanteuse. She has that tone that to me always suggests both strength and fragility, and usually a shed load of self-doubt or self-deprecation as well. I catch some of the lyrics, which seem to come straight out of a foppish sixth form poetry battle off. Heavenly treason, bitter erasure, then annihilation, elation. It come across as pretentious twaddle, but I like it.
Me too.
Next, some of that aforementioned fragility in the sort of harmonizing vocals that lead straight into the next verse. And it follows a passage. You get like 4 lines, which are mainly, 2 or 3 syllables or 2 or 3 words, and then a verse which has a lot more syntax in it. And this bit pelts along, as I said, with this nice driving notion of the bass. It leads to an airy portion, which of what I think is a chorus, with the word take often repeated. And I think the word oblivion, back to sixth form poetry, that's the only time you'd ever use that word. This is also pleasing to my indie bone. And it has some of these sort of almost layers or sliding bits of vocals and the way it goes. which kind of reminded me of Lush at their most ethereal as well. Really nice. Um, then we go through another verse. I'm really struggling to catch what she's saying, but we then go to kind of like a clanking breakdown. It sounds musically. The word take is used with a pounding. It sounds like a metal tent peg that's going into the ground. It's hitting a rock. A tank, tank, tank. This leads into some furious shuffling from the drummer over a nice line in sort of squally feedback. And it is the word oblivion, confirmed. Um, and it culminates in the feedback sort of bleeding through. And I've said this before, how much I like this effect. Um, and they really milk it, actually. The bit where it's like, it's about to crash, they take another beat or two before it does. So it's really sort of teetering on the precipice, about to, and then in comes the guitar solo, we call it. Really nice as well. This guitar part solo is really unexpected and an absolute banger. Short and wonderful, loved it. And then we go back into the verse structure again. And now, because of the previous contrast with that instrumental section, the verse sounds even more indie poppy than it does. And I think they're slapping in a few more harmonies and stuff. So it really becomes something like an object of beauty. And with its own sort of momentum from that, we sort of breeze through until this really abrupt ending. So yeah, the start, this is a bit of pleasing indie pop, the like of which I've heard many, many, many times. Very 1986. But then all the elements that I described elevated this into something a lot more that I really, really enjoyed. Yeah, it had a great sound to it. It was all put together nicely. It fitted together nicely. Yeah, it was a great track.
Awesome. Glad you liked it. Here, the Beths. So yeah, they are a New Zealand indie rock band formed in Auckland in 2014. The group principally consists of lead vocalist Elizabeth Stokes, guitarist Jonathan Pierce, bassist Benjamin Sinclair, and drummer Tristan Deck. Meeting at the University of Auckland, the band signed to Car Park Records in 2018, where they have released the albums Future Me Hates Me in 2018, Jump Rope Gazers in 2020, Expert in a Dying Field in 2022, and Straight Line Was a Lie in 2025, so just last year. The Beths are noted for their use of vocal harmony, utilizing the voices of all four members. Members of the band have cited Always, Rilo Kiley, and Bully as inspirations for their work. Elizabeth Stokes and Jonathan Pierce originally met in high school, and they met both Benjamin Sinclair and then drummer, I should say, Yvonne Lucatina Johnston, when all four attended classes at the University of Auckland studying jazz. Prior to the Beths, Lucatina Johnston was performing swing under the moniker Sal Valentine. Stokes, Pierce, and Sinclair were all part of his backing band, the Baby Shakes, for various tenures. The Beths released their first single, Idea/Intent, via SoundCloud in July of 2015. In March the next year, the band independently released their debut EP, Warm Blood. The EP spawned a single, Whatever, which was released with an accompanying music video in May of 2016. A new single, Great No One, was released in October 2017. The song was the first to be lifted from the band's debut album, Future Me Hates Me. Prior to the album's release in 2018, the band announced their signing to Car Park Records in the United States, who also reissued Warm Blood internationally, and to Due Process, the label in Australia. The album was released globally on August 10th, 2018, followed by an international tour supporting the release. The title track was nominated as one of the 5 finalists for the 2018 Silver Scroll Award in New Zealand. In 2018, Lucatina Johnston permanently departed from the band. He later became a senior scholar at the University of Auckland. The band went through a series of fill-in drummers before settling on Tristan Deck as a permanent member in 2019. In November of 2018, the band announced the forthcoming release of the new 7-inch Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. The vinyl features the band's cover of the traditional title track, as well as a demo version of their song Happy Unhappy. Happy Unhappy was later named 2018 Song of the Summer by Rolling Stone magazine. In early 2019, the band undertook a tour of the UK and Europe supporting Death Cab for Cutie. Their second album, Jump Rope Gazers, was released in July of 2020. On the 13th of June 2022, the single Silence is Golden was released with the announcement of a third album, Expert in a Dying Field, which was released on the 16th of September 2022. 1 year later, the Beths released a deluxe edition of their 2022 LP, which included 2 previously released singles, A Real Thing, originally released on February 9th of 2022, and Watching the Credits, released on March 28th, 2023. The latter featured on former U.S. President Barack Obama's 2023 summer playlist. On April 28th, 2025, the band released the single Metal, as well as announcing their signing to Anti Records. On June 24th, 2025, the band released the single No Joy, along with the announcement of their next album, Straight Line Was a Lie. The album released August 29th of 2025, and it features this track, Take, that I had you listen to today. Lenny Green of channel favorite Pitchfork scored the album, exactly, John, a 7.5 and wrote, Straight Line Was a Lie foregoes the nail-biting, lovelorn angst of the Beths' earlier releases and jumps straight into existentialism. Written in the aftermath of frontwoman Elizabeth Stokes' new SSRI prescription, it interrogates the heady relationship with self, part mirror and part chasm. Till My Heart Stops might sound like a conventional love song until you map the lyrics to the antidepressant on-ramp. Out-of-body calm, detachment, and questions about how it's deeply possible or advised to feel. It's tonally hopeful, a self-aware admission of dysfunction and desire. Elsewhere, the title track tacks towards Superchunk's college radio shred, an electrified shrug at the notion of linear progress. No Joy marks both a sonic and tonal shift, veering into Devo-style new wave and a deadpan depiction of medicated anhedonia. Adding, Straight Line Was a Lie proves that it's possible to sandwich life's gnarliest realities between hooks that could take up permanent residence in your auditory cortex. It's a balm to know that even if we're just a constellation of atoms or glorified mosquito fodder, we have nature to make us feel small, drugs to bring us up for air, and anthems to howl back at the void. Writing for Joyzine, Paul F. Cook would review the album and opine, rather than travel down the path of self-indulgence or by creating a rock opera with a symphony orchestra, they have not stopped making songs that soar into the pop stratosphere, such as Straight Line Was a Lie, Mosquitoes, No Joy, and Take, which have no brake propulsion and get the blood pumping. There is a bite in the sweetness on tracks like Metal and the Bangles-esque joy on Love Song Roundabout, which features the most delicious repeated guitar riff, and Ark of the Covenant, which is one Robert Smith away from being a classic Cure song. Sam Walker Smart of Cone magazine scored the album an 80 out of 100 and noted, the Beths clearly had a lot to take stock of in recent years, but they return wiser, bolder, and more prepared for the next chapter. With Straight Line Was a Lie, they've produced another sharp indie pop record, this time with an emotional weight and maturity that makes it arguably their finest album so far. Stokes has always been applauded for her lyrics, and rightly so, but there's a new directness and rawness that comes only from bravely confronting your own issues and daring to write about them. So speaking of her lyricism, let's get into these lyrics. Pulled out of Eden into the cold night, I heard you breathing, breathing. Heavenly treason, bitter erasure, then annihilation, elation, elation. Oh, stalling of the engine at your heart. Do it to keep the hardware turning. Burn the fuel to light the spark. Oh, take and take and take. Take until the palliative is gone. Take it to fill yourself, the confidence to speed into the fog. Oh, oblivion, take, take, oblivion, take. Oh, oblivion, take, take. Oblivion, oblivion, take, take. Oblivion, take, take. Oblivion, take. Oh, oblivion, take, take. Oblivion, oblivion, take, take. Out with a bang now, towing the bright line. Give me the blackout, the blackout. Tell me a secret so I can erase it. I won't need to keep it, keep it. Oh, thawing at the pyre of your fear, did you forget about the person that you were when you were there? Oh, take and take it till the photograph is gone. Take it to overwhelm the echoes, bouncing on and on and on. Oh, take, 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 oblivion, take, oblivion, take. Oh, oblivion, take, oblivion, oblivion, take. Tell me a secret so I can erase it. I won't need to keep it, keep it. Oh, stalling of the engine at your heart. Do it to keep the hardware turning. Burn the fuel to light the spark. Oh, take and take and take. Take until the palliative is gone. Take it to fill yourself. The confidence to speed into the fog. Oh, oh, thawing at the pyre of your fear. Did you forget about the person that you were when you were there? Oh, take and take and take. Take until the photograph is gone. Take it to overwhelm the echoes. Take, bouncing on and on and on. Take. Oh, on and on and on. Take. Oh, and on and on and on. Take. So, Take explores themes of self-destruction, coping mechanisms, potentially substance abuse, or probably more accurately, from her vantage point, in the case of Stokes, medication, and the desperate desire to erase painful memories or past selves to find peace, with lyrics depicting cycles of taking things to numb or overwhelm echoes and fears and memories, trying to move past trauma into oblivion for clarity, but questioning if it's truly better. So, the frantic energy combined with lines about burn the fuel to light the spark, take until the palliative is gone, and speed into the fog suggests a struggle with depression and destructive patterns, using take as a stand-in for drinking, or like I said earlier, in her case, probably administering medication, take and take and take, to cope with the inner turmoil and past identities. So, there you have it, John.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't catch or get the impression about mental health issues from this song at all. Yeah, interesting. I have to say, it's a bit like drug taking songs. The issues with mental health, I think, are quite personal. I don't think it translates as a thing across in terms of communicating with other people. It's just me, so I don't relate to it as much. Someone says I'm having such a hard time with my heroin addiction. I was like, oh yeah, boo-hoo you. And again, I can't relate to people who are taking medication because of depression or whatever, because I've not been in that situation. I can understand it, but I can't, relate properly to it. But when you were reading the lyrics, etc., you get this almost overwhelming sort of feeling from it.
Yeah.
The take starts off as almost like it's a reaction or whatever, and by the end it's almost an uncontrollable Pavlovian reaction
Yeah. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
whatever happens in take medicate, whatever. So yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that's what I got from you reading the lyrics. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm really glad you gave this a go and that you enjoyed it as much as you did. There's a lot to pick
Very
from
much.
the Beths and their few albums that they've done. There's some really good stuff out there. So I might be inclined to bring some of them later on in the year as we progress through the calendar. But if one of y'all wants to beat me to the punch and drop a suggestion by them down in the comments field below, if in fact you are a fan and want to hear John or my opinion of those tracks, although in complete honesty, I've probably heard it, but I'm sure John hasn't. So feel free to drop a suggestion down there. We'll add it to the list and maybe we can knock that out in a future Friday episode. Also, please like, share, and or subscribe if you haven't done any or all of those things. It'll take just a few seconds. It won't cost you a dime. We'll never ask for one, but we will really appreciate it. So please give that a thought and possibly an action. And hopefully John and I will catch all y'all in growing numbers on the next installment of the Audiophiles. We'll see you later, guys.